My next speaker will actually be talking about AI some more. Our next session is titled "The Future is in AI-Powered UX." We'll be exploring how artificial intelligence is enhancing user engagement, personalization, and security in digital payments. We're very fortunate to have one of our own, Oleg Pasiansky, the head of Artificial Intelligence Laboratory at BPC, to tell us more about it. I'll hand the floor over to Oleg.
Thank you very much for this wonderful introduction. Ian, you see, my picture is a little bit different, and it's not AI. It's just 15 years back. It looks like also I'm probably the only guy with a tie in the room. And this is because not I'm old school, but this is because I'm going very serious about what I'm going to talk today. Just to share a couple of experiences doing the sessions about AI in general, it looks like that the sessions become somehow more educative. Everybody is confused about what AI is and what AI isn't. So I have put a couple of statements here for you to remind, as a reminder what artificial intelligence is. Actually, it's already with us at least for a decade. And if you remember, the first breakthrough was in computer vision. ImageNet 2017, there was the huge success in image recognition. And this is where actually AI was born in the modern understanding. Of course, people talk about GPT, but I have the funny story about it. During my last 3 sessions, I asked the same question to the audience, what GPT means. And guess what? I have received no answer. In fact, GPT stands for Generative Portrait Transformer, and it's an architecture of the neural network. It's one of the many architectures that do something. And it's generative. It's very important to understand. So GPT actually, these architectures made significant boost to the AI development in general. And this is why we know about AI these days. Nobody cared about computer vision, but everybody cares about ChatGPT. So what happened that large language models currently a focus of interest in the industry. And interesting also that almost all developments that currently focused on AI in general, they're more or less about AI safety and about power effectiveness of these architectures. I'll just put a simple example. You know how many neural layers the regular human brain has? 6. Only 6 layers. The large language models operate within 100,000 of neural layers. This is how powerful they are, but they are still less effective than the human brain. And it's not for long. So we will expect that as a universal technology, also AI applications will appear here and there. Actually, it's working behind the scenes already, and you may not even notice it, but it's there. And of course, it's there in payments and in finance. Let's take a look at some fundamentals. The other thing about AI in general is that there are lots of myths, and the myths are debunked on a regular basis. But the problem is that what's considered to be a myth these days, it could become reality tomorrow. And there is a lot of controversy around AI, And you can see that artificial intelligence actually includes machine learning, deep learning, and generative AI as the latest development of all the technologies combined. Machine learning and deep learning in general actually contributed a lot to what generative AI these days is. And another progress, you can see in this diagram that the deeper you go, the more data it requires. The data is a big problem. I will talk about it. So another thing is that people typically ask the same question over and over again. So I would invest in AI, okay, even if I don't understand what it does. So what return I may get? In 2024, Google Cloud made a paper, and they have asked several thousand top executives about their return on investment on generative AI technology. And this is probably the first in the industry. Then you get some return on your investment within several months. Just think about it. You made a decision today, and in 3 months you will get a return on your investment. It's not really common for any technology, for any industry. And this is the first time that it generates return on your investment that fast. And you can see that 30% of executives, they already recorded this return within several months. Another third will be within a year. So overall, 60% of investors will return on generative AI within a year. So if we take a look at which areas the generative AI currently is effective, of course, we had a couple of presentations today that also explain that customer and field service already influenced by AI. Individual productivity, sales and marketing, digital commerce, back office, automation of business processes within your back office is a huge thing. New product services, and even in engineering, generative AI is helpful. I also remember one conversation with one executive, and he said, well, I don't see that much information going out about, for example, engineering, about sales and marketing, and so forth. In fact, the companies that use generative AI to get the competitive advantages stopped publishing the papers, stopped publishing any kind of information that may give the same competitive advantage to other competitors in the space. So you may notice it. Okay, so what about software and hardware in generative AI? Let's take a look on the left side. Here we can see, okay, you recognize a couple of names here. There is a trend in proprietary software and non-proprietary software. By non-proprietary, I mean you can install the software and run on your server. If you have the skills, if you have the proper equipment, you can do that. They all have their own and different licensing policies, so you need to take put some attention on that, but you can run it inside the company. And what about the hardware? So you can see that Alphabet, AMD, NVIDIA, everybody knows about them, but there are some other companies that use the hardware that is focused on AI applications. In fact, the rise of NVIDIA in terms of capitalization and value of the whole company is in the fact that NVIDIA started from consumer products that introduced the first GPUs, with specific applications, and they have developed the SDK that developed for about 10 years already. And you can see, well, there are some companies that probably new to this, and what they do, they actually use the AI chips for their own applications, but they don't sell them to public. So we don't have that much choice here. Of course, AMD tries to catch up. And we also have the company called Cerebras. I will talk about it. But the choice is very limited. And you can also remember that during the chip shortage situation, we also can say that if you want to buy some NVIDIA servers with the latest GPUs, they won't be available until Elon Musk actually buys them. So it's about that. NVIDIA currently sells the chips in bulk volumes, and they are not actually that readily available on the market. Okay, about software. What it means for you that you can install the software on your own server, and why even bother with it? Of course, in the industry, there is a lack of knowledge, there is a lack of skills to do that, but, well, if there are other providers that you can easily talk to, like OpenAI, and ironically, this name doesn't actually describe the company as a whole, because OpenAI is no longer open. And after this dismantle of board of directors, there was an industry turmoil that led to the conflict of interest and all of that. But you can see that proprietary software is here, but there is a choice and there is a possibility to install it on your server. And that's why. These are the quotes from the websites of the most popular GPT services providers, OpenAI and Anthropic. And if you read it carefully, it actually means that your data that you send out to these service providers will be used by the company. By default, it will be used. And actually, nobody can say that your data will be not available for your competition if this competition uses the same services. That's why. Of course, you can opt out. You can somehow prohibit the use of your data, of your information by the public service provider. But in this case, they don't guarantee their services. And well, customers' data is used for model training by default, and most people are okay with that. But my opinion is that at least people need to know about the risks they impose to their own company information, and some even confidential information that could be available for other people. These are exact quotes. You can go to the website and just look at that. So there is a couple of reasons, and very important reasons, to install the software on your own equipment, run it internally. And what also is important, that this equipment should be sufficient enough to run it fast. Again, I'll make a simple example. When you create the call center operator who talks over the phone call and responds to questions, the industry perception that the latency, I mean the pause between the question and the answer, should not exceed 5 seconds. We actually heard the presentation that explained that the human reaction, a human-like reaction to the question of the customer, making actually masking the pause between the request and the response. So you need to make something to keep the customer online. There are a few tricks. It's not a single trick that people use. So you need to respond very fast. So we need to get more powerful equipment. And this is interesting. There is an interesting diagram here. Everybody wants to do it fast, more powerful, hungry servers. And you can see on the left side there are providers that do it on more or less on the same basis in terms of latency, how fast they respond. There are familiar names here. And there is one company called Cerebras that provides the service at least several times faster. Why they do it and how they do it? Because they use their own AI chips, and they are called wafer chips. You can just dig some information about them and how they develop them and how they produce them. But this is what is going. About the fast reaction on a request, and people looking to that very seriously. So you need to respond fast. Why I'm talking about a little bit of educative session? Because if you use generative AI and AI in general improperly in the scenarios that it is not supposed to be used, you may receive this. The picture on the left side actually is about having a chess match between a robot and a 7-year-old, and the robot actually broke a finger of a kid. So these are well-known cases, very well described in the industry, but of course, it's not the full list. And I think in every country, there is a situation when the generative AI and AI generally was used in scenarios that it is what was not supposed to be used. And this is what happens. So if you think about ourselves, okay, we may not have the skills, but heavyweights should. But they don't. Even big companies fail using generative AI tech, and this is a common situation. So we need to understand the limitations, restrictions, and some of the scenarios that the generative AI and the current state of AI should not be applied at all. Okay, so about AI payments in finance, what will be the applications? There is a list of it, and I will talk about a couple of cases that also our company produces the products for, like recommendation systems, like financial fraud detection and protection, and of course virtual assistants and bots. Everybody knows about bots, what they do. But I will bring a little bit more detail on how they operate and what is the modern, current state-of-the-art bot that should be deployed in a modern company. So let's take a look at the recommendation system. Basically, the recommendations that we currently have on social networks or on other platforms, publicly available services, they all generated by AI. There is no question about it. Whether they are effective or not, that's another question. So the best of breed recommendation systems these days, they use a combination of different machine learning and deep learning technology and a generative AI technology. Why was that? Simply speaking, when you run machine learning algorithm against your data that you have collected over the years, you may not even understand the outcome of it. So it looks very complicated. There is a lot of math working behind the scenes. And if you take a look at that, you need somehow to visualize it. Bring a couple of pictures. But what if I say that machine learning algorithm working over your data is multidimensional? People struggle to visualize the data that is multidimensional, that goes beyond 3 dimensions. So it's very difficult to understand. And this is where the generative AI helps. So it takes all the outcome and explains it to you in simple terms, in a human form. It's a big thing. It sounds simple, but in fact, for top managers, for C-level executives, having the recommendation that talks, well, you have customers of this age and who do these transactions over the month, you may need to introduce a couple new products. This is very understandable. And this is exactly what generative AI puts on top of the outcome of machine learning and deep learning algorithms. The recommendation systems may be different kinds. Collaborative, for instance. Collaborative means me and my friend doing the same thing. We may go together, we may buy the similar products and so on. It's a user-to-user communication. So we find similarities, how people behave. Content-based, for instance, it's the other side of the story, item to item. So similar items that create clusters in your data. And you need to understand how these items could be sold more effectively. And association. A very simple example, if you buy a smartphone, sometimes you also buy some accessories to it. It's the same session, it's the same purchase. So when you find these similarities, when you find these clusters, the machine learning and deep learning algorithms, they will find it for you, whatever you think about it. So you just get the raw data, run the system over it, it finds the clusters, and it will explain why these clusters are even organized. These are the best of breed. What is the surprise? I will make a simple analogy. In a social network, there was so-called cocoon effect. Cocoon effect means that you basically talk to the same people all the time. You get the similar recommendations based on your age or whatever. You live in a bubble that social network created for you. It's very similar to what the bubble means also in real life. So you see the same people all over again, and the bubble just exists. Surprise element is introduced when you need to go out of the bubble, and you will be presented with something that is not really similar to your behavior or to your patterns of purchasing something. Something like a strange suggestion. Why even suggest it? The thing is that people actually are very tired being in cocoons. So I do all similar things over and over, year after year, and actually being tired about it. So a surprise element breaks the bubble and introduces a new domain, new space to you if you like it. If you don't, then you just regret it. You just deny it. Surprise element actually about the customer retention. So if your customers are tired doing the same thing over and over again, introduce the surprise just to keep their attention. Otherwise, you will lose them. That's why. And hybrid recommendation systems look like that. So they're a combination of several things. The combination of association, content, knowledge, and other things, including, of course, surprise element. And these days, surprise element is even more important than this, because it's already with us for years, but surprise element is something new. Okay, this is where it gets even more complicated. GNN stands for Graph Neural Networks. Why even look at it? That's a very nice picture, in fact, and there is a next level approach to customer segmentation. Simple approach means People doing the same purchases over time, people doing the same travels over time, that's fine. But what if there are different people doing the same travel once a year or just 1 in 2 years? Can you find this relationship in your data? With traditional machine learning and deep learning algorithms, it becomes impossible. Sometimes you can do that, but graph neural networks reveals some hidden collaboration or some hidden bonds in your data. Some people may be related to each other, but you may not even notice it, or you may not even know about it. So this is where graph neural networks is very effective to find these hidden bonds. There are a few things about why this has been the next level. When you start with the traditional segmentation, you may think about how to keep your customers with you and find these hidden relationships between them. You may introduce not only new products, but new behavior patterns to these people. You can do it smart way. You can do it just simple way, but this is exactly what will be the next stage. So people are not that predictable anymore. Let's find something new. GNN currently is in the beginning because they're very heavy in terms of computation cost. To run the graph neural networks over the data requires a lot more power compared to the traditional approach with ML and DL. Okay, take a look at fraud prevention. We also have the separate session with my colleague Maxim, who will drive you through all the fraud prevention features and configurations. But interesting part about it, that let's just look at it, where the generative AI. And you can see that generative AI currently is used for imitations, the way how customer and fraudster act. Generative AI generates the data. If you have not enough data to train your fraud prevention models on, the generative AI will generate it for you. Learn and build scoring models. That's, I think, pretty well understood, but the recent addition to the fraud prevention space is basically fights the social engineering attacks. And it's much bigger than any kind of a payment fraud or transaction fraud, because in volumes, it just supersedes everything. So how to deal with the social engineering fraud? Before that, we need to talk about the data problem. Data problem is across the whole industry. And if you don't have enough data, you already have a problem. You need to generate it, you need to borrow it, you need to buy it, but you need to find data somewhere. And simulations and imitations require a lot of data. And this is where generative AI helps. So for the similar cases, and you can see this diagram, it's a specific, just a very obvious skimming case when there is a skimming device installed on a payment or data capture device. And you may have only 1 or 2 occasions of it. So how to actually prevent it? You need to generate a lot more cases that are similar to that for the model to train on and be effective when prevent from the next case. So what about AI and social engineering? Again, simple example. I'm going to receive a video call from my mom, and she will be asking for some emergency transfer because she's in trouble. And I need to do it on some account that is specifically created for that. The call will be fake. Face of my mom will be fake. Her voice will be fake. What will be not fake? That might transfer. So I will lose my money. And this is the simple example of how social engineering works. Another example, you may receive a call from your manager or from top executive saying that you need to do this transfer immediately because we have customer waiting. And this is a very big contract that we need to sign, and then we will go on implementation stage very quickly. And this is exactly combination of several things, like fear and urgency, and trust and authority. So there is some trusted person that you trust, and there is some fear, and there is some urgency in this situation. If you don't do that, you will lose your job. This is how social engineering works. Everything will be faked. And the technology these days enables it with ease. So how to basically fight it? The industry consensus is about creation of specific AI agent that will talk to the fraudulent AI agent before you even communicate with the fraudster. Because you may fight AI only with AI. You need to create your own protection, and we may come to some scenarios when you don't even talk to the real person until your AI agent allows you to do that. So all these attacks will be prevented in the first stage, in the validation stage, and this fraudulent scenario recognition stage. And this interesting diagram, these are the attacks that currently people use to intervene or to commit fraud against the AI-enabled systems. It's called Atlas Matrix. It's on continuous basis, it's updated. So you can see how many the AI-based fraudsters are even able to recognize what AI model you run. So they may trick it to the extent that your AI model will work against you. So this is the current stage of the industry. If we take a look, it's quite a long list. But actually there is no choice. You need to deploy the AI agents to fight against AI fraudsters. Humans can't do it. Okay, regarding the AI assistant, everybody's aware about bots. In BPC, we don't call them bots. Why? Because we truly believe that there is a virtual assistant entity. Of course, the virtual assistant should be verbal, it should be autonomous, flexible, scalable, multilingual. The same agent will respond the question in English and Spanish with ease, even if you change the languages during the same session. These days, the agent or virtual assistant should be also equipped with the multimodality. It means that you may post the picture of your transaction into the chat and say, this is what I've done, please deal with this. The agent should be able to recognize the picture, extract the most valuable information from it, and generate some action after that. And virtual assistant technology currently is based on a combination of common fields, ML and DL, and again, the generative AI. Also, I need to explain some interesting concept because it's been mentioned in the previous session today with Union Bank. there should be multiple engines. They should do some separate tasks. Actually, it's already available. And of course, from BPC as well. This approach is called agentic RAG. RAG stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation. I will put an example. Let's have you have a VIP customer who is angry all the time. And he just keeps swearing all the time. So he puts in distress every other operator, even the most stable one. Okay, so how to deal with this? This is where we have the query analysis. The query analysis means that we need to extract the most valuable information from the request itself and present it to the overall system. It means we cut every other swearing words from the input and put it in the system. And the system will respond in a very nice way. Actually, the first agent like that was deployed in Japan, and it was a huge success. Because with this concept, you can rewrite the query that is better understood by the model. And there are several applications about it, but I will also put your attention on that this concept actually creates the unified or universal virtual assistant for you. It means that the virtual assistant, based on the level of the documentation that is exposed to, with some permissions and some restrictions, it can look into the company data, it can go on the web, it can even call an API inside the system to generate some action. This is what the model virtual assistant does. It doesn't just answer your queries. It does a lot. So automation like this eliminates some exposure, not only from the call center, but also from internal operator. So if you can deploy everything that is in the list, you may receive the universal operator for the customer service on the unlimited level of information, unlimited. And of course, you will not spend the time teaching your new operator to do that, or even several people. Okay, so if you take a quick summary about that, AI is not one system. It's not GPT only. It's a combination of several technologies that are very, very effective in some defined areas. And it's crucially important to understand their restrictions and limitations to properly apply it. Interaction between the human AI is a feature, because you still have an operator, or you have the connection between the assistant and the human, and it's a feature. It's not elimination of people in some certain positions. It's a feature. Chatbots are misleading because of the hype related to GPT technology in general. It's not the last step. We're still looking for what people call AGI, artificial general intelligence. And the problem with this is actually every forecast is wrong. I mean that some people were convinced that we may not get the AGI level for AI in 30 or 50 years. Currently, the industry is more or less thinking that it will be 2025, 2026. So, and we will be witnessing sort of a combination of human intelligence and general intelligence that is purely artificial. And the future is in the workflow. The processes will be automated to the lowest extent. And we also heard about the robotic process automation technologies, but currently what is available these days is the computer operator that is purely artificial. So this operator does the things, clicks buttons, goes on the web, and does any kind of action that a human does at the computer without recording the human sessions for it. So everything will be automated. And before I finish, if we talk about payments, someday payments were very valuable. And this is the data that's been collected by McKinsey. Also, you can see that back in 2000, if we invest in payments, we get, well, very interesting valuation numbers. And the same for the software, the same with e-commerce. There's a lot of expectations back in 2000. So payments are really, really valuable, but it was back in the days. So what's now? Now is this. McKinsey says that there are competition areas that will be more valuable than payments. And this is quite self-speaking picture. So you can see that the software will migrate to AI-based software. And we can see that consumer internet goes to the digital advertisements. And you may also have a quick look on the areas that will be focused for investments. Well, there is no payments. Robotics, future of mobility, things like that will be more valuable for investors in upcoming years, and this is what McKinsey thinks. I wouldn't share my opinion about that because we'll see. But it's definitely what's going on about robotics. The human-like robots currently is built in massive scale, and we will see them in massive numbers, I think, in a couple of years. And there was a common question from the audience: why they build them like human? We had industrial robots for decades. They work in factories, they work in industrial plants and all of that. Why they build human-like? And some people answer, because humans like dealing with some entities that look human. No. That's because human-like robots will replace humans in human-focused production. So typical parameters are, it's about 200 centimeters height, 2 arms, 2 legs, and so on. This is how the factory is built. They're built for humans, and robots will replace them. Exactly the same size, exactly the same operation facilities. So this will happen anyway. And on the right side, interesting part about that 5 arenas of today could lack the growth and dynamism through 2040. It's actually over the corner. And you can see that payments actually will go to decentralized finance, DLT technology, CBDC, digital assets. What's so special about it? They're all blockchain-based. Nobody talks about blockchain, right? These days. Because it's already working. It's there. You might not even notice. With AI, I think will be the same. It's already almost everywhere, but it will be everywhere, even if you don't notice. Thank you.
Thank you, Oleg, for that fascinating dive into AI-powered user experiences. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. I want to know whether to be